Welcome. The brutal attack and what happened to Rob Reiner and his wife, Michele. Obviously, an enormously huge story. This hour, we're going to talk about Conan's Christmas party, the role that played, plus the latest reporting that's coming out about the state of mind and the mindset and what was going on with Nick Reiner in the days leading up to this Reiner family tragedy. It's brutal. That's what we're going to do this hour. I am Vinnie Politan, lead anchor for Court TV, your front row seat to justice, along with Albert H. Wunsch III.
Hola, Tanginistas.
And the radio legend, you know him, you love him, the one, the only, Jonesy.
Greetings from Asbury Park, New Jersey.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the Tangent True Crime Podcast.
And the one and the two.
It's Vinnie and the Tangent True Crime Podcast. Vinnie has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinnie and the Tangent True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button so we can all have a blast. Vinnie, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill Gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinnie and the Tangent True Crime Podcast.
All right, folks, it's a Friday before the big Christmas extravaganza coming up on Sunday. Don't forget about that. Sunday night, 7 o'clock live.
When is it, Vin? I'm sorry. It's this Sunday?
Sunday at 7. Sunday at 7. Do not miss it. Lots of prizes. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Again, that is Sunday night coming up on Court TV. Your front, right here on our channel. Okay, there we go. No, I was clicking and talking all at the same time.
No, that's fine. But you know what? But this is your front row for a family Christmas special. Like,
yeah,
remember from the 70s and the early 80s when everyone had a great Christmas special, and it was always a lot of fun to watch. And we are trying to bring that back.
Yeah,
a friend of mine, actually, who's much younger, a friend's son, recently commented to me that the lack of variety shows in modern television like ruined it all. He thought, because he thought so highly of the variety shows of those days.
Yeah, and you're putting on a show, baby. We're going to put on a show.
Oh, yeah. Hand me down my walking cane. Hand me down my hat.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. So now this whole thing, this is bad. So I wanted to start really talk about Conan's party because I think it's going to play a huge role in all of this and is giving folks some insight into what was going on. And the backstory and the reporting has been, everywhere in this. I mean, people have been digging in and finding out a lot of details here. And one thing that's being reported is that obviously Rob Reiner's invited to the party along with his wife, Michele. Prestigious invite to get, by the way.
Sure.
And they did not want to leave their 32-year-old son home alone and asked if he could come to the party. Like, just that fact alone tells me that, hey, there's some serious issues going on, right? Yeah. That you don't want to leave your 32-year-old son home alone.
Yeah, what my understanding was that his mother had said that he was getting more and more erratic and dark, and that she was getting very concerned with his behavior. And then they decided that they were going to bring him to the party rather than leaving him in the house by himself. And then the disaster that
That's right.
transcended at that party, goes forward, with, his son wandering around and just annoying people. All these celebrities, one in general, I believe, was Bill Hader, who he just basically started asking three. He was asking three questions. My understanding was that it was like, who are you? Are you famous? And there was some other question, and people were putting up with him because of the fact that he is the son of, Rob Reiner,
Right.
and
The son of Hollywood royalty. Of course, they put up with him.
right. And Rob had a tremendously great reputation in the industry, and I mean, you look back at it now and you say that that no one at that, but I don't think anyone at that point thought he would have gone to the level he did. But just that type of behavior at a party that you're at, which is, like Vinnie said, Hollywood royalty. I mean, it is one of the most exclusive tickets to be able to get, to be invited to that event, and it's something that everyone looks forward to every year. I was not invited. I don't know, Vin, were you?
No, but I want to show you this video because I found it very interesting that I found online relative to the party, just to give you some idea of the level of this party. So there's the Smart List podcast, which is one of the biggest podcasts. Three guys who are friendly, talk to each other. Not these three, but was it Bateman and Arnett and the other guy? But anyway, they made a little cartoon, but it's really based upon the Conan Christmas party. Let's take a look at it.
Going on for the holidays, you guys.
I got the invite for Conan.
Yeah. Yes,
But you said that you might not be able to make it.
Because there's another thing on that night that we got to go to, but that's not starting until 9. So it looks like I can squeeze Conan in.
Wait a minute.
Oh, no.
You're going to squeeze me in?
Yeah.
You bitched and moaned about not being invited to Conan's Christmas party, which has become an iconic party.
It's quite a thing.
Everyone goes.
Yeah, so last year was the first invite.
And what did you do? What did you do?
I couldn't make it.
A friend of mine
I was at
saw
Jen's party.
Nope. You showed up late at Jen's party. A friend of mine saw you at Meineke Mufflers on La Cienega. They said you were there for 4 hours, hanging around with no need of a muffler repair.
He ripped his own muffler off.
Yes.
Just to delay going to your house.
Sean, you've been to this party?
I've been to this party, but the only
How
reason I
is
get
it?
to go is because I have to go early to set up. Yeah.
You have to work it.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it's a thing. Like, this is a big Hollywood event. I guess, but now it takes on like a whole different aura and life, and sadness. And I don't know. Do you cancel the party? Do you have the party next year?
Yeah.
Like, after this?
You're going to have the party next year. Of course, you're going to have that party next year. I mean, it didn't
Really?
happen at the party. I mean, it didn't happen at the party. I mean, it's a horrific thing. You maybe do a nice thing and remembrance, of your good friends. But in a year from now, this party's going on.
A year from now, the case is still percolating, and if Alan Jackson is the attorney, I don't think it's going to be wrapped up quickly. And people at that party are witnesses.
Yeah.
Like, this is like Hader and others will be witnesses, people that were at the party talking about what happened and the conversations and what they witnessed and the behavior, because ultimately I don't think this becomes a whodunit at all. Do you?
No. By any stretch.
So it's all about his state of mind and how he was acting and everything else. So everyone's observations at that party, which is extremely close in time to what happened, become very, very relevant.
And can you imagine being Conan? Not only did this happen to a close friend of yours, but you're part of the story.
Yeah. No,
Like a big part of the story.
big part of the story. And I heard he's like broken up about it. I understand, like everybody is, because of the loss, but the whole thing. So what, and I'm wondering, did what happened at the party exacerbate what was happening? Right? Did it like take a bad situation, whatever was going on, and then add another level of conflict because he gets booted out of the party because he's bugging everybody. So it's going to create some conflict. There's been reports of the argument between Nick and his parents at the party. Bill Hader wanted him to go away, but I think people are talking about that moment. So does that escalate and elevate whatever's going on and perhaps have an impact on what happened here? Like if they didn't go to the party, would this have not happened?
I don't think you can go that far.
I don't know. I think you can.
Well, yeah, but I mean, if he was capable of doing this, allegedly doing this, like after the party, and the party certainly did exacerbate it, I'm sure. He was just he was boiling. Like something was going to break.
Yeah, I don't know if you can necessarily. I mean, look, his mother has been speaking about the fact that he has been getting worse and worse. He was having behavioral issues. He had refused to go back to rehab. He obviously was back on drugs, and that, whether or not they went to the party or didn't go to the party, I don't know how that would have.
Well, his behavior at the party created a direct conflict.
Well, there was always a conflict, though. I mean, the fact that, why are you forcing me to come to this party? I mean, they wouldn't let him stay home. Obviously, he didn't want to go to the party.
Go to Conan's Christmas party.
But you're showing up to the party wearing a hoodie, a formal party that everybody gets dressed up for to the nines and everything else. I mean, I've never been to a Hollywood, but the closest I think I can say I've been to a so-called Hollywood party is that every year, I used to get invited to the Kreskin Christmas party, which was always a very, very nice event. And there was always, I mean, not at the level of the celebs at this, but they were like the New Jersey C's and maybe a little below sea level celebrities that would come to that.
Uncle Floyd would be there.
You would have most of the cast of The Sopranos. You would have a lot of the old Borscht Belt comedians like Freddie Roman and those kind of guys, Charlie Callis, and John Biner,
Rick Turner.
Well, Rick Turner was never at one of those parties, although that he certainly would fit that same category.
I've got to admit, I don't even know who Rick Turner is.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's an inside story. I don't want to bore the folks who are watching at home, but I want to take a look at this photo because I think this is right in line with what you're talking about, Al. So this is the Spinal Tap premiere, Spinal Tap 2, which just happened a few days ago. Rob Reiner dressed up. He's got the jacket, but he's got the Spinal Tap shirt and the jeans on because it's Spinal Tap, right? So he's dressed for the role. The rest of the family, the other son is dressed to the nines. You got the daughters are dressed nicely. Mom is dressed in a Spinal Tap thing with her shades going on. And then there's Nick. Look at Nick, the way he's dressed. Like you can tell one of these things does not belong with the rest. He's got like a golf pullover on with a pair of sneakers.
He also looks off.
Oh, yeah.
In these photos.
Sure.
And part of that is because, now we know what we know.
Well, here's what they're reporting now. The latest reporting. Diagnosed with schizophrenia, new meds made him out of his head, according to sources. This is the big headline today. So you have an actual diagnosis and you've got meds that have recently been changed.
Okay, so I'm going to share some of my family stories at this point. My brother had schizophrenia. And when I was in high school, he actually would walk around in his tighty whities with a knife in his hand around the apartment. And I wasn't scared, but eventually police were called. This happened numerous times, and he was committed. Had another brother who was on drugs and was homeless sometimes. And sometimes he would be taken in, and other times he would be not accepted. And my point of telling the story and sharing the story is that you don't know what to do. Here is your son. You don't want this one son to be homeless. That kills you, I'm sure. Killed my mother, not figuratively. And you don't know what to do. And we didn't have the resources of Rob Reiner, obviously. And apparently he tried so hard. I've seen some of the interviews, that film they made together, to get help for his son. And whether or not you're Hollywood royalty and you're rich, or whether you're just a working class family from Kearney, in those situations, you are torn emotionally. And maybe I'm stating the obvious, but it's through some direct experience. What do you do in that situation? At some points they let him go off and be homeless. Apparently, I guess things got too bad, or he just chose that lifestyle. It is not easy figuring out how to handle these sort of things.
Right. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. You just are, because you've got the connection as a parent. And Rob Reiner talked about this, and the two of them talked about this together, about the tough love that they tried. And Rob Reiner was saying, well, maybe I should have listened to Nick. I should have listened to what he was going through and not relied on the experts as much as we did through all this. And it's a really, really tough spot.
You know what I got from that interview that you're referring to? What I got from that interview was a guy blaming everybody else around him for
Nick, right? Nick blaming everybody.
By him blaming the doctors and saying, well, you go to this rehab place and then you leave, and and everyone thinks it's your fault when you get back on it, but it's really them. And his father was agreeing with him, which I understand because he loved him. But I'm watching that, shaking my head, thinking like, dude, you're blaming everybody around you for your own problems.
I want to put this up from Gringa. Such a profoundly selfish, self-centered act. All the people adjacent to this horrific crime will have their names forever associated with it. And I think you're correct. Now, the question will be trying to understand the why of this selfish, self-centered act. And I think ultimately that's what the trial becomes about. Agree or disagree, Al?
No, I agree. That is exactly.
It's not going to be a whodunit. This is going to be why did he do it?
Why did he do it, and whether or not he was the present state of mind and the mens rea, and whether or not this was insanity or temporary insanity or anything along those lines. But I do think there's going to be a hard time selling that defense because of the heinousness of the crime itself, and the slaughter that was done, and just the butchery
and past behavior. If you're going to blame new meds, well, there are alleged incidents where he tore up the guest house, like up for days on drugs.
Yeah, but we know every trial, the defense puts someone else on trial. Reading this headline today, they're going to put the doctors and the meds on trial. This is malpractice. This is egregious what they did in experimenting by giving him these drugs. And I believe, based on this headline today, this is where Alan Jackson is going to go.
Now, do you think this quote comes from the defense?
Well, it started with TMZ, so who knows? TMZ has
defense friendly.
Yeah, they have their tentacles in Hollywood everywhere. So, and their reporting is always spot on. Like it's super rare that they get anything wrong. They get it quick and they get it right.
It's run by a lawyer, so
Yeah, exactly. So I think this headline though is the game changer, and I think this headline makes Conan's Christmas party even more important, because you're not going to, the parents can't testify about how he was acting. They're gone. So who's who's seeing him closest in time to when this happens? It is Bill Hader. It is Conan O'Brien. It is everyone at that party.
But you also have the sister, who obviously is the one that comes
But
upon
not right before. Like, she's observing in general what's happening, which is important. But
Right.
she's not at the party, and she's not there right before this happens. She comes in after the fact and finds them.
But then, hey, look, you got to look at my brother because he's got to be the prime suspect in this. So, I mean, obviously, she had either been told he was acting erratically, or she evidenced or had seen that he was, acting erratically in the days and weeks leading up to, this heinous, horrible crime.
Oh, absolutely. No doubt. No doubt. We've got another one here from Johnny Knoxville. Merry Christmas, Uncle Vinny, Wunsch, and Jonesy. Great job, Vinny, keeping Wunsch in line on VPI. Looking forward to the extravaganza. The extravaganza Sunday night, 7 o'clock. This Sunday, 7 o'clock, the Christmas extravaganza. It's going to be amazing and lots of opportunities to win lots of things. We'll see if we can keep Wunsch in line.
Well, we're going to see tonight. I'm on VPI tonight at 9 o'clock.
Oh, there you go. Beautiful. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
In light of that comment, I just called up and they're saying you're on tonight, 9 o'clock. And so
tonight at 9. All right, I want to get to just a couple more. We've got a big crowd watching today here. A shout out to Jason Jensen, private investigator with a super sticker. Thank you, Jason Jensen. A great investigator out there in Utah, regular guest. You go to CrimeCon, you get to hang out with Jason Jensen, folks. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to Double J in the house. All right, who else do we have here? I just got to scroll through quickly because we've got a very busy chat today. Very, very busy, so I don't want to fall too far behind here.
No.
By the way, we started a little early today because Al's got to go to court.
Hence my Christmas tie, though. I have my
Exactly. Okay, here's Fancy Nancy. I hope they allow cameras in the courtroom. Okay, so here, I'll give you an update on that. It's California. So it's a coin flip. It depends on the judge. Some judges do, some judges don't. A lot of what California's been doing recently is opening statements, closing arguments, and the verdict. This one, I'm not sure. It depends on who the judge is. I don't think you're going to get any arguments from the defense, though. I think the defense will be very happy to have cameras in there.
Maybe because
prosecutors should never object to cameras in the courtroom.
Who should never object?
Prosecutors. They work for us. They work for us. They should have nothing to hide.
Right.
They should be the most transparent in the whole system of justice.
Do you think the celebrities have any lobbying level of lobbying they can do? Because I would think a lot of celebrities will have to testify and may not want.
No, they have no standing.
The only thing that may keep it off the air is the medical history, the psychiatric history.
No, that's what the whole case is about.
Well, but what I'm saying is if I'm defense counsel, I sometimes don't want my client, having his medical history out there. I mean, it's going to be out there anyway, but not, broadcast with them putting the cameras on him.
They've got to explain the behavior. They've got to explain the behavior.
That's not a problem. But what I'm saying is that I don't necessarily want cameras on my client in a case where it's something, alleged with regards to schizophrenia or anything along those lines. I think that there is a certain amount of decorum necessary when you represent someone who's got those kind of problems that would have me probably not support cameras in the courtroom on that kind of a case.
Yeah, if we're going to cover an Al Wunsch case and he objects to cameras in the courtroom, he's dead to us.
But I would allow you to put a body cam on me, and I would, I'd go from that end.
No, back in the old days, we used to put the wireless mics on the lawyers.
Yes, I remember that. I do remember that.
They loved it. They loved it. All right, Camille Jorgensen with a super sticker. Thank you so much, Camille. And coming to us from another country. I always forget which country she's in. She's somewhere foreign. Hopefully the time the time difference doesn't impact her ability to watch the Christmas extravaganza on Sunday night.
So Vin,
All right.
so she comes from another country and it's somewhere foreign. Could
Oh,
you put it in?
Denmark. Thank you so
Denmark,
much.
All right.
Denmark. We love
Like,
everyone's going at me. Denmark, you dummy. All right.
could you
Excellent.
possibly be more vague.
Yeah. So to me, again, this headline, the combination is so important, right? Because I think there's a general skepticism by jurors when it comes to some sort of mental defect or disease defense in a case, right? Oh, you got nothing else, so this is what you're doing. So you've got to demonstrate it. And there's the expert testimony you're going to have.
Right.
You're probably going to have, you're probably going to put on the treating physician, and you're probably going to go after him a little bit because this is the person you're blaming. This is who the defense is going to blame. They're going to blame the treating physician and big pharma who is producing these drugs that have all these crazy effects. This is exactly how this is going to play out. No doubt in my mind, unless this reporting is inaccurate, but I have no reason to doubt this reporting. No reason to doubt it. The changing of meds. All right. So legally, what does this do? Right. Insanity is like right from wrong. Appreciate the wrongfulness of what you're doing.
Right. Correct.
But the downside, right? We look at the facts. He fled. That's
Yes.
never good.
No.
Does the insanity defense ever work?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you the greatest example. It worked in a trial on court TV. It was a case out of Texas, not Andrea Yates, but it worked in Andrea Yates. It works when the jury believes that the defendant is committing the act and is trying to do something good rather than bad. And the way it usually manifests itself inside of a courtroom is someone is getting a message from God, and the only way to save this person is to take their life, to save them from the devil.
Didn't work for Lori Daybell.
Yeah. Well, Lori Daybell, she wasn't, Idaho really doesn't have legal insanity, so she
Right.
couldn't even do it. I think if they did, they may have gone that route. But Andrea Yates, that was her thing. And then there was a second defendant who used rocks on her 5 children on the heads. And the jury bought it. And in Andrea Yates, the jury bought it as well. Because mental illness by itself is not a defense. It's legal insanity, which is a legal standard. It is not a medical diagnosis. Like a doctor doesn't diagnose you with insanity. No, he diagnoses you with some form of mental illness. And then the question is, based on the facts of the case, does that illness meet the legal standard of insanity in whichever jurisdiction the case is being tried? So,
The first case of temporary insanity that is in American jurisprudence happened in the 1850s, and it involved the death of the son of Francis Scott Key, who wrote the Star Spangled Banner. And he was having an affair with a Tammany Hall politician by the name of Dan Sickles' wife. His wife was way younger than he was. And she and the son of Francis Scott Key were having an affair. He came home. He knew that there was something going on. So he came in and found the two of them in bed together. And he red-rummed Philip Scott Key. And it went to court based on temporary insanity. His lawyer was Edwin Stanton, who would later become the Secretary of War under the Lincoln administration. And Stanton argued that, just seeing your wife and, that compromised position in bed with this man made him snap. And the jury bought it and they acquitted him based on temporary insanity. Sickles ends up going later on and is commissioned as a general in the Union Army and fought at the Battle of Gettysburg and ended up losing his leg at the Battle of Gettysburg. He donated that leg to the medical the medical museum in Philadelphia, and every year he would go and visit the leg, and he still remained married to the woman that he caught in flagrante delicti. So that is the first case in U.S. jurisprudence.
Wow.
That's
Amazing.
So his leg is at the, I believe is it called the Mutters Museum or something like that?
Yeah, that's correct.
His leg is there?
His leg is there, still there.
And I saw it.
Okay, well, it's still there. And from the historical standpoint, Sickles' move during the second day of the Battle of Gettysburg almost cost the Union their eventual victory.
Wow.
He moved out of an area where he had the high ground into a low ground, and then in the battle at the wheat field was almost decimated. But he ended up having his leg shut off by a cannon, believe it.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing that happened after the trial, because otherwise he wouldn't have had a leg to stand on. So, Allison Elwood, illness, not defect. Goodness, Vinnie. No, Allison, that is a legal standard. So, depending upon which jurisdiction and which state you're in, they refer to it as a mental illness or defect or mental defect defense. It doesn't mean defective. It means like it's a legal term, Allison, not a medical term. We're talking about a legal standard. So when I say defect, it is used in the legal context of actual statutes. So
A term of art.
yeah, it's just, I can understand someone who, hasn't, I don't know if Allison's practiced law or not, but hasn't practiced law, might take it the wrong way. So I'm glad that you posted that, Allison. Appreciate that. Here's Kathy with a super sticker. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Yeah,
Kathy. Thank you, Kathy.
Kathy.
That is awesome. And we just got to stay. Happy holidays, y'all. This is my entry for Tangenista of the Year. Rosie. Well, Mary D, XD9SI, thank you so much. That we have closed the entries for Tangenista of the Year. All the entries have been made, and they were all via video submission. We may change the process next year, but this year it's a video submission. Thank you, Mary D. We'll see you Sunday at 7 Eastern for the extravaganza right here. By the way, we're live streaming today on my Facebook, on my YouTube, Twitch, and my X, and on the Court TV YouTube with a simulcast. Make sure you go over to Court TV and subscribe, and you can actually become a member over there. So that'll be amazing if you join their membership program. You get lots of goodies over there.
Do you get a members only jacket?
You do not get a members only jacket, but I would love one of those. By the way, here's a shot of the house. So you have, the only way you can actually see Rob Reiner's house is from the air. I mean, that's how huge this thing, like, look at this thing. This is like sprawling. So this is the other part of the case, right? Like this is one of the crime scenes, right? So you look at the house, and, for some people, when your 32-year-old comes back to live with you, it's like, okay, there's not enough room for everybody. You kind of get in each other's way. That's not the case here. Like there are separate little homes within the compound. And I'm not sure where he was living. What we don't know is exactly where Rob and Michele were. There's been some rumored reporting that they were in bed, which might make sense. Because if a knife is used, how do you control two people with a knife? It's not that easy. One person may run away as the other's being attacked. So I think they both have to be in a very vulnerable position.
Well, I thought I had heard from TMZ again that when the daughter came in, she did not know that the mother was also red-rummed. That she only saw the father, and that didn't see the mother's body there.
I got to check on the dog. I don't know if you can hear that, but continue.
Okay, so I had heard that, reported that she only saw her father red-rummed, did not see the mother, so the mother was not necessarily in the same room, or maybe had been in an area that she couldn't see. But it seemed to me that she wasn't in the same room as Rob was when he was brutally executed. So, it'll be interesting to see where that goes. If that's true or not, maybe that is even more of an interesting scenario that would probably not allow the insanity defense to go, because if that's the situation and then he's stalking somebody after he executes Rob, and then then starts looking for the mother, or did the mother first and then subsequently went after Rob, that may be more of a problem with regards to a psychiatric defense at that point. So we're going to see what happens on that.
Hey, Vinny, how's the dog?
It's like Dino. Sometimes Dino's. So I let him go outside. He must have seen something.
The reason I ask is because my cat has these deep dreams and goes into like a convulsive state and starts looks like she's running, and she'll like fall off the bed. And just about 5 minutes ago, I heard a loud thud, and my cat fell off the bed, and I just kept on trudging through because we're on the air.
We're on the air.
Off to check on your little doggy.
Yeah, but he was making auditory interference with the program, so I didn't want people. And if he had to go to the bathroom, I didn't want to deal with that either. A cat goes in their little thing, right? Dogs have to go outside. So here he is. He does not look well.
No.
And we've seen other pictures of him where he seemed a little better, but he put on some weight. Nothing wrong with that, but he put on some weight. At other times, we've seen him much more svelte. The beard and everything, I get it. Rob Reiner is known for his beard as well, but it's really the eyes. To me, you look in the eyes, and you can tell there's something going on.
Putting on weight might not necessarily be a bad thing, in that there have been reports of drug addiction and stuff.
Right.
Drug addiction generally leads you to that thin. That overly skinny, not fitting your frame.
Sometimes the medication can also cause you to be.
Yes.
Here's an interesting fun fact. Let's go back to this. When we were showing the house, this was Henry Fonda's house.
Oh, wow.
Mr. GAF?
Yeah, and Jane Fonda.
GAF. Jane
Fonda was, I believe, at Conan's Christmas party.
That's correct. She was at the party.
And
was a good friend of Rob Reiner, and that makes even more sense because that was her dad's former home.
Yep. Nicole Longo, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Oh, by the way, where is it? I'm gonna find it. Okay. Jennifer Soubey, OMG, I love the Flintstones. Jennifer Soubey, Gen X, and where else? Ashley Bouchard, Zuko the Dog Check, all part of our amazing, second to none, legendary computer's working slow. So slow. Mod Squad.
The Mod Squad. Keeping order in the chat. The Mod Squad. The Mod Squad. Spotting trolls who attack. The Mod Squad. Oh, Gen X is ready and on the scene. Frankie Figs making sure they're keeping it clean. Jennifer Soubey telling haters don't be so mean. And Ashley Bouchard on top of our Facebook screen. We are the Mod Squad, cleaning up the mess. The Mod Squad, the Mod Squad, simply the best. The Mod Squad, the Mod Squad.
Okay, and of course, the Mod Squad will be at the Christmas party Sunday, folks. Sunday at 7 p.m. So, going back to Conan's party, what are your thoughts about the decision to bring him?
well, once again, I mean, hindsight's always 2020, but
No. But it's not hindsight. Like, given the facts, and again, we go back to diagnosed with schizophrenia, new meds made him out of his head. Okay, so in light of that,
I think it's an act of love to a fault.
absolutely, I agree with that 1,000%.
Because you're bringing him because you love him, but by the same token, he does not belong.
no.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, they did what the parents would do under those circumstances, notwithstanding the fact that he's 32 years of age. But they did an act of love, which was bring him, knowing that this was going to be a bit of a problem, but they weren't going to leave him there. They could have very easily left him there,
Right.
and they didn't do that.
Or
And-
they could have skipped the party.
Yes.
Well, but you know what? The problem is that when you skip a party, whether you go to the Midas Muffler or anything along those lines, Rob's got a movie out. Okay, he's got a fiscal interest in the movie doing well. That weekend, if I'm not mistaken, was the broadcast premiere of the second part of his famous mockumentary with regard.
Yes. In fact, I saw it. It was on HBO the other night.
That's right.
Yeah,
And that was-
I get it, but like if it's as bad as is being described today, that he's out of his mind, are you really doing anything other than dealing with that?
but-
That's my question. And the reason it's relevant is going to be like, all right, well, how bad was it really? If it was really that bad, would they have actually brought him to the party, or was it not quite as bad as is perhaps being reported or leaked to the media by whoever is giving that information to the media?
That's an
I
interesting
think it's
thing.
important now. I think it's
I-
important. 'Cause that's what the whole case and the whole trial is going to be about.
What
is
I'm curious
state of
about.
mind.
What I'm curious about is whether or not they actually called Conan and said, "Listen, we can't leave him home. Is it okay if we bring him?"
Yeah, no, they did ask permission to bring him.
Okay,
I don't know.
I didn't know that. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, they did.
So-
Now, here's something else that Trust is Love is telling us. It's also being reported that mom told the EMT that it was Nick before she passed away. She passed away on the way to the hospital.
Really?
Yes. So this is what the reporting is. She was able to speak. So Al, that fact becomes a dying declaration. That becomes admissible hearsay, correct?
Absolutely.
It also makes the story that much sadder.
Yeah. No, but the EMT can testify in court. Mom told me who did it. Michele said who did it.
Yep.
Okay. So it's no longer a whodunit.
Didn't work
Who
on
done
that.
it? It can never be a whodunit. If
It
you have
didn't-
this evidence, it can't be a whodunit.
That sort of statement didn't work up in Massachusetts for some reason, but it did.
No,
seem-
there was no eyewitness in Massachusetts.
Well, there was didn't the one individual with regards to the one paramedic made some comment about the fact that somebody said something that Karen.
no,
Reed-
that was an alleged admission,
all right, an
not-
admission.
not a dying declaration by
But
the
there's
victim
still-
saying who
there's still-
did it. If
both
John
are-
O'Keefe had said something, then it would be like this.
Both are exceptions to the hearsay rule. An
Well, one is
admission-
statement against interest is
Right.
it's
Exactly.
by a party. But this is different though. This is a witness / victim of the case.
It's
This
a
would
dying
be John
declaration.
O'Keefe being alive and saying something before he passed away, but he had already passed away.
That's right. This was a dying declaration, which is absolutely admissible. Because based on the theory that it's English common law that when you are about to meet your maker, you're going to be truthful as to what had just happened. So that would be something that would be it'd be admissible, and as I agree with Jonesy, makes it even more tragic.
Yeah. But to me, right, I look at everything. We look at the story, we look at what happened, and we've always got an eye on what's going to happen in this case, what's going to happen in this courtroom. And to me, dying declaration, I'm sure there's going to be overwhelming forensic evidence on top of it. Alan Jackson has the case. He's not rolling over. Prosecutors have not decided if they're going to seek the ultimate punishment or not. We will see on that. They have time to make that decision. My guess is they won't.
Yeah.
But it is possible. But it is possible because of 2 victims. Rebecca Miralles, 31. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, Rebecca.
Yes. Merry Christmas. Oh, by the way, just so just keep people up, because I know they always get very interested in these things because I happen to get judges calling all the time and everything else. They canceled my hearing at 1:30.
What?
I just got this in. The judge just
You can undo your tie and take off your top.
I yes, I did. They called off the hearing at 1:30. They just need your confirmation in the email. So
Now let me ask you this, Al: is that happening? Is that like kind of the feeling you'd get when you looked out the window and school was off because it was a snow day, or were you prepped, ready, and you just wanted to get it over with?
I was prepped, ready, and it was billable, so that's even more upsetting. So it screws up at least an hour and a half of billing.
Well, you get 15 minutes.
No,
just
but you
for
get
reading
the bill for the preparation. You can
Yeah,
bill
that's
the
correct. I
preparation.
do get all that. You're 100% correct on that. We definitely do
Yeah.
that. So,
Just don't double dip.
but I mean, it is a little frustrating because when you are ready to go, I had met with my client who is presently incarcerated, sat with him for an hour and a half, preparing what needed to be done for today. And then to have it turned, it works my advantage in some respects. So it's not so bad, but it is a little frustrating that you lose that opportunity.
Now, I've also heard another version of the dying declaration may have been to the daughter, not the EMT. I've heard that as well. But in either case, it gets in. It gets in.
Either way, it gets in. I mean, it is absolutely
What's better? What's better for a defense argument? You don't want to be arguing with the daughter that she's not telling the truth, but an EMT guy, you could.
But it doesn't matter. I think that's another reason. This is not going to be the issue. This is not going to be Alan Jackson's fight. It can't be, because it's a loser. It's a loser. You go down. You've got to play the whole angle. You've got to play the whole angle of the mental, and I think that's closer to the truth anyway, right? Is this case is, why did he do it? Does it end up in some space where a jury could find him not guilty by legal insanity, have him institutionalized in lieu of going to prison for the rest of his life, or perhaps to death row? I mean, that's what this whole thing's going to be about. It can also be used if it's a D-pen case, right? As mitigation, in the mitigation of the case. So it's relevant on 2 fronts, depending upon how prosecutors proceed in all of this. But it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And everything that happened at that party, do you think there's any video at the party? Do you think anyone was taking photos? Or is this one of those Hollywood parties where we're Hollywood people, we're at this party, everybody knows we don't take pictures of each other, we don't shoot videos, we just enjoy each other?
No, I think that there's, because you know what, I'm sure there's a Christmas display that they would take pictures in front of and things along those lines. I'm sure there was absolutely a professional photographer there. I'm sure
it would be very controlled, right?
But very controlled, not people whipping out their cell phone and shooting video of Nick disrupting things, because that would be very relevant to the case. Do you think that exists? I personally don't think it exists, but like Al said, we don't go to these parties. Jonesy, what do you think? You go to these parties.
Well, I would think that they want their privacy. They want to let their hair down, so to speak. Somebody's going to get too loaded. Do you really want somebody taking a Hollywood star's picture in that situation? I think a private party like that is their chance to really just be themselves and not have to worry about the showbiz aspect of it. That's what I would imagine. Because you have to put up with that at like public venues. Right.
Make every day your best day. Thank you so much, and we will That's a great way to live. Just make every day your best day. What am I going to do today? What's going to be fun today? What's going to be special today? How am I going to make this make this into a meaningful day? Oh, Ashley Bouchard gave you some advice, Al. Do you bill in 6-minute increments?
I would say 15, baby.
No, actually, I bill in 10-minute increments.
10 minutes.
So
it's
10 minutes right there just for checking that text.
That's exactly right.
Well, I always did 0.1s, 0.2s. So we were 110. That's 6 minutes. We did 6 minutes in my firm. You do 10 minutes.
We do.
There was
10.
a great character in Arrested Development, which was a Ron Howard sitcom portrayed by Henry Winkler. He played like the lawyer, and like there was just so much material about his billing, like that was very important. Like he would like start his clock, and you had to be there.
Frankie Fig's in the house, another one of the members of the great Mod Squad, fumbling away over here. It's that time of year.
Yes.
It's that time of year with the
I mean,
holidays
with the excitement upon us of the Christmas extravaganza, everybody's giddy. Everyone's happy right now. That's good.
Absolutely.
In that regard, can we take him? It's Santa Claus.
Yes, it's our reminder. Sunday, December 21st, 7 to 10. We are going live. Special guests who you're going to love. We've got prizes, lots of prizes. We're going to crown the Tangenista of the year. We've got a winner for the ugly sweater competition. We'll have the judging going on during that. It's going to be a magical night. Sunday, December 21st. Live stream, and it'll be Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, X, and I may even throw it up on Instagram if I can.
And is Core TV going to be simulcasting with us?
That'll be a simulcast, I believe.
Excellent.
So. Yeah.
Excellent. That's very exciting. Always nice to see them there.
Johnny Knoxville, 3 hours of Vinnie live, no cover charge, right?
Yes, but remember to tip your bartenders and your waitresses.
And try the veal.
Yes, best in the city.
Oh, by the way, I have to announce something else here. We've got some folks sending stars over on Facebook. Thank you to Sue Forte. Tiffany Scott. How did he get Alan Jackson? I don't know. How do you think he got Alan Jackson?
Yeah, right.
He's got some files, but logistically, how did it happen?
I don't know.
think he's the one that made the call.
No, I'm sure he didn't make the call.
I think it had to be a sibling.
I think that's probably or a family member.
Here's something that came to mind in regards to his riches, or the Reiner riches. Obviously he's in the will someplace, right? If you're found guilty and you were the one who did it, do you still get that?
No,
you do not.
You do not.
Yeah.
You do not.
I mean, the Rob Reiner's worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, obviously.
Like easily.
House alone
and the money still comes in like residuals. I'll be back 1 second, guys. I have to let the dog back in now. Dino's barking outside, so now he wants to be inside. He always wants to be where he's not, right? Well, if he's inside, he wants to be outside. If he's outside, he wants to be inside.
That sounds a lot like this individual who was at the party at Conan's house.
I thought Rob Reiner was a real mensch. I didn't know him. You met him.
Yes.
But just seeing his interviews and stuff and the way he would carry himself, I used the word mensch. I just thought he was super cool. And we grew up with him, like watching the All in the Family. You and I were like, 10 when it premiered, something like that.
A couple of things. First of all, he was an individual who put his body where his mouth was. Okay. When he had a cause, he was there. I mean, he actually took time from all the stuff he was doing in Hollywood to try to advocate for, gay marriage and things with regards to the environment and stuff like that. But he wasn't one of those guys just wearing a lapel pin or maybe writing a check. He was there. Okay. He was in the trenches fighting for the rights of individuals and also fighting to preserve the environment that we live in.
Who?
Reiner.
Rob Reiner was a guy that was very, very politically motivated, but
He
wasn't.
was Meathead. He was basically the character that he played.
Yeah.
But and what's interesting is Carol O'Connor was basically the same way as him. I mean, the character of Archie Bunker could not have been more of an antithesis of who Carol O'Connor was. Carol O'Connor was an extremely liberal individual. But the remarkable thing about him at his age, to be the straight man to Carol O'Connor is not an easy thing to do. It's a very difficult talent to be a straight man with regards to when you're playing off of somebody. And he's supposed to be the one that's supposed to look like he's the smarter of the two and things along those lines. What I absolutely adored about him was that even in those instances, he always showed a vulnerability and it also allowed himself to be a little off, like off just as much as Archie Bunker was off. And the two of them played off each other so well. Now, I had heard that he was also a script doctor, which is a person that comes in and takes a look at scripts and changes things around and stuff like that. This was when he was in his 20s. He was doing this with one of the greatest, individuals, writers, Norman Lear, producers, and the scripts that were written in this, for All in the Family were so wonderfully crafted, absolutely wonderfully crafted, and had attacked issues that no one had seen on television before. And he's making key changes to lines to the point where he was actually getting Sally Struthers pissed off because he'd be taking lines from her, but he'd also be taking lines from himself and lines from Gene Stapleton and from Carol.
Do you think
O'Connor.
that's why he and Gloria got divorced?
Yeah, yes, that was the exact reason why.
Do you guys remember him? He did some great cameos. Do you remember him in The Partridge Family? He played a character named Spike. He was a biker.
Oh,
yes. He had a crush on Laura.
Yeah.
And he was also Sheldon.
Sheldon but it didn't have the O. It was
right.
Sheldon, and that was with that was on the Odd Couple.
The Odd Couple, yes.
Where he was the fiance of
Murder Turner, no?
Yeah. The whatchamacallit,
which was his which became his real life wife.
His real wife, right. And interesting thing about her was her first husband's last name was Reiner. So when he adopted her daughter,
oh wow,
okay, she was still a Reiner, but not Rob Reiner. That her father's last name was Reiner.
Interesting.
But just going back, with regards to him and the things that he did. Oh, with one other point that I just found out last night that I completely forgot about. Mark Hamill had a cameo appearance in The Partridge Family. He played Laurie Partridge's boyfriend. I just saw that last night on Jimmy Kimmel, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, that was him.
I was watching that.
But that on the thing, but he had a ton of cameos. Rob Reiner, also great parts in movies and in television shows. I mean, The Wolf of Wall Street, he's phenomenal in that movie. It's he's got a great character playing the father of the wolf and everything along those lines, and just his presence on the screen is just a joy to watch. And
like I say, I watched the second Spinal Tap the other night. And, part of the reason I've been wanting to see it, but part of the reason I watched it is because Rob Reiner is on your mind. And, it's that Hollywood thing. You look at it and there he is, he's alive. Yet, it's emotional, but at the same time, like it's hard to imagine these people gone because you see them on the screen.
Right.
Well, but we always will have those movies. I mean, and the other thing about him too, he was a great American. He was a great actor. He was a great director. And the diversity of his films is just remarkable. I mean, he never stuck himself in one genre. He was willing to do, rom-coms as well as, A Few Good Men. Okay, a courtroom drama that has a military base. He was willing to I mean, Stand By Me. I mean, that's just one of the most remarkable films. And he thought that no one was going to go see that movie.
Right.
He didn't think that anyone would want to see it. Princess Bride, which I have never seen, by the way.
Nor have I.
I've
I
never
don't
seen
know
it.
what it is. I don't even,
Andre
I
the
have
Giant
no
is in
idea
it.
what it's about.
Andre the Giant is in it, Vinny.
Yeah, Andre the Giant's in it, and and Harry Met Sally. I mean, just some great.
Well, how about this?
Misery.
Misery's a great film.
Oh yeah.
Now, here's what Julia's saying, and I think this will be a big part of the discussion. WP 6RD. The Reiner family enabled Nick. Denial, sad but true.
I
don't know that they enabled it, but I brought up the denial earlier in the interview when they were promoting the son and Rob Reiner's film where
right.
they were blaming the doctors at the rehabs, for his relapses. The denial was definitely there, but I don't know if they enabled them.
And how about this? Carol O'Connor's son, also an addict.
Yes, that's correct.
And this happens to a lot of Hollywood families. For the children, they have access to everything. Everything is easy. But then there's the other part of it that they could never be their parents. Yet Rob did not fall into that, right? Because he had a father who was a legend.
Yeah.
And it didn't stop him from doing what he wanted to do. We've seen some children do really well with that. Some don't. And I think it's just the personal makeup and the circumstances, who you surround yourself with, and et cetera. Carol O'Connor's whole thing was do whatever you can to get your child off of drugs, because he lost his son to drugs. Like his son OD'd.
Yeah.
So now you take that perspective and that scenario compared to this one. Like, were they doing everything that they could? Here, though, it's not the addict who ends up dead. It's the parent. Like, this is two people, who America got to know together very, very well. 20 million every Saturday night watching. But one has an addict and he loses his son. The others have an addict and they lose their own lives.
I wanted to just address the comment you said before about Rob Reiner and his famous father. And why it's interesting is because in A Few Good Men, he actually put lines in that movie about the fact that the Tom Cruise character's father was an exceptionally good lawyer and was one of those guys that was just, absolutely lights out, just phenomenal, the whole 9 yards. And everyone made a comment about that. It's like, oh yeah, well, I remember when I remember your father, would I always thought maybe your father would do the same. Like that, those comments kept coming into it. And Rob said that that's what he dealt with, because everyone he met would say the same thing. One, your father is one of the nicest people I'd ever met. Two, he was one of the funniest people I ever met. Three, he was one of the most talented people I ever met. And he took that, the experience and worked it into Adam Sorkin's, script. And it really plays off very well to what happens at the end when they finally say to Tom Cruise, you've surpassed your father. You've done better than what than anything he could have done.
Which is what every father wants.
Exactly right.
What every father wants. So I have the same experience when I was practicing law in New Jersey.
That's why I brought that up.
Are you kidding me? Everywhere I go, oh, Judge Paul. Every time I appear in court, there'd be a moment where the judge would call me up to the bench, and I'd hear a story. And every time I'd hear a story, and it was always positive. And by the way, it would always help me in the courtroom.
What always did, but I mean, that's why I brought that up, because I knew that you could relate to that.
Yeah, no, I definitely relate to that. and I could see how for some of a certain mindset could say, oh, well, I can never live up to that. Whereas others would be, I was so proud of my father and I was so inspired to try to make him as proud of me as I was of him,
That's right.
And that's what you want.
You should never run from your history. You should embrace it.
Embrace it. Exactly.
And you've got that, that history that you have, with that lineage of, with your dad and everything else. Embrace it. I mean, because that is the greatest honor of all. And, it's
and the other way I can relate to is I'm sure, well, for Rob Reiner, he grew up very well, right? But his father probably was not well off. He created his own thing, but then his son is born into it. And for me, like, my father didn't come from a lot. My grandfather worked really hard and supported, but they're in this country not that long. My father built this amazing thing that I was handed, and I was, oh my goodness, like, life has been really easy for me. And for some people, when that happens, you can go one of two directions, right? You can kind of slip off and everything's been easy, so I'll just chill out and do what I want to do. And then others feel, and what was instilled in me was an appreciation for what I had and an understanding that, now it's on you. You need to live up to that. You need not pressure to do it, but like an example. You look at it as an example. Wow, he did this. I need to do that as well. But not everyone responds that way. And unfortunately, I think that's how some of these Hollywood teens, can fall into the world of drugs because they have money, they have access, they have a level of prestige, and there can be the psychological part of it as well. It's not an excuse, but it's like explaining how that happens. And it happens too often for it to not be a thing. And yes, Johnny Knoxville, I did watch Archie Bunker every Saturday night.
And you know what? As I said, we need to embrace history.
Yes. Embrace it. I'm just checking through here to make sure.
I see what you did there, Al.
Thank you. But
I know, but I'm doing two things at once here. It's not easy. You guys think it's easy?
I don't think it's easy.
The civil rights and all the revolution fights. World War II, Al always knows who is who. It's this day in history. This day in history. History. Now let's listen to his story.
Thank you there, Ben. December 19th, we'll do Rev War history first, 1770.
And when you say Rev War, you mean the Revolutionary War, which we won.
Yes, that's right. The Revolutionary War, which was really our first civil war, technically. Thomas Paine publishes his first essay of the American Crisis. The line, "These are the times that try men's souls." This is 1776. We're not doing too well. We're losing in battles. Then Washington comes in at the end of December and the victory at Trenton. And then things are starting to look better. And Thomas Paine was so instrumental in revving up people to support the cause. In 1777, on this date, Washington settles his troops in Valley Forge to now get an opportunity to train and to become a full fighting force. They bring in a Prussian officer by the name of von Steuben, who comes in and teaches them drillings and how to become soldiers. This is an instrumental part, despite the fact that the hardships that they went through at Valley Forge were horrible, absolutely horrible, and it just made them a stronger fighting force. True crime, 1942, Robert Stroud, the convicted Red Rummer, is transferred to Alcatraz, where he becomes known as the Birdman of Alcatraz.
Was there a movie about that?
There was a movie.
Burt Lancaster.
Burt Lancaster was in it. And it was actually a very glorified film because Robert Stroud was actually a psychopath. Okay, he spent 54 years in prison, and 42 of those years were in solitary confinement. Okay, he learned about birds, and he actually was self-taught. He had a decently high IQ, and then was actually running a business out of Leavenworth, selling birds and actually selling medicines for birds, and was doing quite well. And as a result of that, even though he was in solitary confinement, he was allowed to keep his birds in his prison cell.
Wow. Jonesy, did you like my Burt Lancaster impression?
That's what that was.
Yeah.
I was going to warn you, if you keep doing that, your face will freeze like that.
That was my Burt Lancaster impression. Go ahead.
So in 2002, the Central Park Five were exonerated finally. They were wrongly convicted of the brutal 1989 the Central Park jogger assault. The individual who actually did it, who had been hiding out by the name of Matias Reyes, was finally confessed, and DNA linked him to the crime. So the
Tim Sullivan, the former court TVer, Tim Sullivan, wrote the book on that.
Yes.
Before they were exonerated.
So December 19th in history. Okay, 1732, Ben Franklin's first issue of Poor Richard's Almanac is issued under the name of Richard Saunders, his pseudonym. It goes out for another 25 years. It was a yearly production. 1843, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens is published. 6,000 copies are sold right out at that point in time. Okay, in 1975, Ron Wood joins the Rolling Stones, replacing, who did he replace, Jonesy?
Bill Wyman.
No.
I'm sorry.
Mick Taylor.
Mick Taylor, yeah.
Okay. And also in 1969, I forgot to mention about the fact that that was the last Ed Sullivan performance of the full Supremes. Diana Ross leaves the Supremes the next day and goes solo. 1988, Bill Clinton is impeached for the conduct involving Monica Lewinsky. And in one other thing about December 19th. December 19th has a situation with regards to the fact that a lot of Christmas movies, a lot of movies are premiere on December 19th. So 1971, the Christmas film Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange came out. 1974, The Man with the Golden Gun, with Roger Moore as the James Bond. Christopher Lee playing Monsieur Scaramanga.
Yes, Christopher Lee. He had 3 nipples. He had a superfluous nipple.
And Hervé Villechaize played the henchman known as Nick Nack. Okay, 1980, Raging Bull and 9 to 5 came out. Another wonderful 2 Christmas movies. And in 1986, Platoon. So as a result, these are the famous movies that have come out around this time for the Christmas crowd. And this year we have the new SpongeBob film that came out. So that's everything. That's what's happened today in history, and looking forward to seeing you all on Sunday.
Fantastic. Yes, Sunday night, folks. Sunday night, 7 o'clock. It's the Christmas extravaganza. Let the bells ring. Here we go.
The bells, they're deafening.
All right, Johnny Knoxville starting things up. Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. Straight from the mouth of Bruce Willis.
He's correct. He's correct. It is not a Christmas movie.
Well, there's Christmas movies, and there's movies that just happen to occur during Christmas.
Yeah.
And that was one of them.
Yeah.
And A Clockwork Orange, I was only kidding, is not a Christmas movie.
It's not a Christmas movie either. But I watched it as a child. I had no idea what was going on.
Oofa. Yeah, that's one of those tough ones to watch.
I watched it as a child. We had HBO, so I watched it. And
I'm not saying it was a bad movie to watch. I mean, it's a phenomenal. I mean, Kubrick was incredible with what he did in that film. It is that's a classic. an absolute.
Frankie
classic.
Figs is saying that it is a Christmas movie. I'm sure she's responding to Die Hard.
Or Platoon. That's also very Christmas.
Platoon is another Christmas.
Platoon
Raging
was
Bull
like-
is also very Christmassy. Yeah, you just got that real nice family spirit. And,
Yes. By the way, folks, while I have you here, I'd like to let you know that you can get some true crime merch over at the Vinnie Originale store.
Nice.
Oops. Where'd it go?
Wait.
We had it. We had it until we didn't.
Ooh.
I had it and I went with it. It came easy and it went the same way.
Shirt and a hoodie, a beach towel and a mug. A new design from Vinnie is better than a drug. True crime merch, you know he did it. True crime merch, mark the exhibit. True crime merch, we hate Casey. True crime merch from Vinnie Originally. Our tangent stuff is great, unlike any others.
By the way, I wanted to let you see this. Let me take that down. The computer's working very slow today. You know, it's that time of year.
Yeah, time of year. Hazy.
But we got the Tangent Christmas Extravaganza shirts. They come in all different colors. This is the green.
I normally like black shirts and such, but that's a very good color for the holiday shirt.
Yeah, it kind
that
of
chocolate chip mint feel to it.
it pops. It pops. It gives you that Christmas spirit. So you have shirts like that and other things. Vinnie Originale True Crime merch shop. By the way, there were cameras in the first hearing, but they were not permitted to show the defendant. But we got sketches. So here's a sketch of Nick Reiner from the first one, and not looking great.
No.
They've got the the safety gear on so he doesn't take his own life, I guess. The face that is drawn here is what it is. My guess is there were issues about being medically cleared, and they sort of delayed everything. So I think Alan Jackson has already begun down that road with the evaluations. I think that the sooner you do evaluations closer to the time of the alleged crime, the more credible they are. Like if you interview someone a year later, okay, whatever. But if you can interview them, within days or so, and I'm talking about an expert doing an interview, days within the alleged crime, you might have a better idea of what exactly is going on inside the mind of the accused.
But you do have, in this kind of a case, because of the fact that, he came from means, a very sizable medical folder.
Right.
So, I mean, like, it's, as opposed to somebody who was never able to get help because of whatever reason, couldn't afford it or didn't know it was that you could get this kind of stuff. With him, you've got, since day one, a complete dossier, a medical file on him that is, got everything.
Let me ask you this, though. Let me ask you this, and how the two issues play, because this will be, I think, another big part of the case. When we talk about mental illness and drug use, right? Drug use, not a defense, right? I was on drugs, you can't convict me. No, not a defense. It doesn't play that way. What about drugs exacerbating a mental condition? Whether it's, and I'm not talking about prescription drugs,
okay,
which is, I think, going to be what this case is about. But if he is taking street/recreational type drugs, and it impacts the mental state versus the prescribed medication, how does that play when it comes to a mental disease or defect defense?
That is an interesting question, because it's not involuntary in the sense that he did take it. Most of those cases that you're dealing with where like they put something in your drink and then you didn't know about it, and then you lash.
Right.
That would be the situation there, because that's like involuntary intoxication or something where you had no idea that this was going to do that. But in this case, I think it's almost an involuntary situation, not knowing how he would react to medication that's prescribed. That's an interesting point, and that's something that I'm sure is going to be explored. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't think in that scenario, if you're under professional care, that it can necessarily be held against you.
Well,
right?
even before
Not
you
the
brought,
same way that if you're buying stuff off the street and you take it, all right,
unless you're compounding it and you're mixing. Okay, so like maybe that would be the situation
Right.
where so I mean, if like where it says don't take alcohol and you're taking it with alcohol, or you're basically combining drugs that should not be combined together, then I don't think you have that defense anymore.
well, when the
But
mental illness issue came up earlier in the week, almost immediately after this happened, and prior to that, one of my thoughts was, well, what came first, the mental illness or the drugs, or the street drugs, because that can lead you down the road to mental illness. So,
I think that's an important analysis of all this. And from our mod, Ashley Bouchard, pharmacy tech here, all side effects are listed on the drug pamphlet when you pick it up, so you can't sue them.
Right. Well, and it's also, it's also been vetted, by the FCC. I've Food and Drug Administration, FDC. So you've got all of those things that have been done before the drug can go out and be sold. Unless you're getting drugs from Canada or from outside the United States, which I can't imagine would be the situation here.
However, I will say, and again, just because something's been approved, there have been things that have been approved and have then been taken off the market.
yes, you see that all the time. First, you see the commercial.
I think that's the space we're in. We're going to be talking about side effects that maybe were either kind of pushed down, because trust me, this is going to be an extremely thorough defense. And you don't take a case and just roll over. That's not what it's about, especially here where you're talking about life without parole or death row. Those are the two options right now. I don't see this prosecutor saying, yeah, I'll agree, and we'll send him to a mental health institution. It's not going to work. You have to fight for that.
But either way, Vin, I don't think he's ever getting out regardless.
Right.
I don't think he's ever going to get out regardless. So, I mean, whether it's going to be
stop with that, because when these people are found not guilty by reason of insanity, from that point forward, the battle is and continues to be to get them out and to give them more and more freedom. It happens in every single. That was my job when I was a young prosecutor in Bergen County, and there was not one not guilty by reason of insanity that did not come in for their semi-annual hearing and not ask for more freedom. Every one of them did. Every single one of them. And every one of the state doctors was giving an opinion that they should get more freedom. So I don't buy that, oh, he's going to men, he'll never get out. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. Because it doesn't work that way. I mean, even in California, like with the Menendez brothers, like have a chance to get out. Give me a break. Like everybody has a chance to get out, whether it's prison or an institution, unless you end up on the row.
Well, that's
interesting that you brought up the Menendez brothers, because it was one of the first things that came to mind when the story broke last week.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But it's very different.
Yes,
that was just straight up, from my perspective,
greed.
A lot of greed.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I look at this kid, and their kid. I call him a kid because he's 32. I have kids older than that, but there's something wrong with him. Like whatever it is, there's something wrong with him. The Menendez brothers, I didn't see that same thing. I didn't see that same thing in the
I think what they did once the parents were gone, they were spending money like there was no tomorrow.
Yeah. Yep. Gen X reminding everyone the Christmas party is up. Yes, we've posted the time and everything, 7:00 on Sunday, so you can set your own little reminders, and we'll be streaming everywhere.
Call the kids, wake the neighbors.
Yes, indeed. So, gentlemen, let me see. Do we have any other business we need to take care of? at this moment. Let me just check. Make sure we hit all our marks here. We got that. We got that. We got that. We got that. All right, because I've been very busy. The rehearsals, final rehearsals, dress rehearsal on Saturday.
Dress rehearsal Saturday. That's right. You already told us.
For the big opening number.
8 hours.
I had to move my schedule around. I won't be watching The Partridge Family and Columbo, which is my Saturday afternoon viewing habits.
Indeed. Indeed. All right, so let's do this before we do our goodbyes. Give me your let me set us up properly here. You were set up properly. Your bottom line on where we are right now in the Reiner family tragedy, Al.
The shock is still there. But I don't think this guy is going to be. I don't think the son is going to be able to get out on a psychological. I think that he's going to be convicted. I don't even think there's going to be a trial in this matter. I think he's going to end up working out a plea arrangement that does not involve the D-pen, and they'll call it a day, because I don't see that there's going to be any valid defense that they're going to be able to do on this. And that is, looking at the party and everything else, I don't think that he's going to be able to get a valid psychiatric defense.
Jonesy, your bottom line today on the Reiner family tragedy.
My bottom line is more emotional than legal. I liked Rob Reiner. I grew up with him, watching him on TV. And while I didn't know him, it seemed to hit me pretty hard, harder than most news stories when you hear hear of a situation like this. Tragically sad.
Yeah. For me, I'm looking ahead. I can't help but look ahead, working at Court TV and thinking of how this is going to play out, what's going to be about. I agree in part with Al, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a D-pen case. I don't think this prosecutor is going to seek the ultimate punishment. I think when the time comes to make the decision, he'll go for life without the possibility of parole, which I believe will leave the defense in a place where there is no room for a deal. There is no room. You either plead to the charges or you go to trial. I think he'll go to trial. I think you're going to see the pharmaceutical industry on trial. You're going to see the particular doctor, the treating physician, perhaps on trial. And I think he is going to try to get this jury to understand that this was not Nick Reiner. This was someone else, in his mind that was doing this. I don't know if it'll be successful. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the way this will play out. So I do believe we'll have a trial.
One other thing, may I add?
Sure.
As far as the ultimate penalty is concerned, I had given that some thought earlier in the week, and while I didn't know them, I would venture to say that the victims in this case would not want that.
Oh, absolutely would not want that.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt in my mind they would not want
Right. So does that play into it?
No. I mean, you have a right to say that, but the state makes the ultimate decision. It's on what they're going to take a look at is what's good for the people, okay? And what is supposed to be there for the deterrent of what all of this is supposed to be is a deterrent. So the state will make that decision, and that happens a lot of times. That it's contrary to what the victim's family want.
Well, what by victims I mean, Mr. and Mrs. Reiner.
The victims themselves, right?
But we don't know that. We're not going to have a seance and figure out what they were going to say.
It seems pretty obvious.
I agree with you, but that's not necessarily what motivates the state.
Right.
Right. At this particular prosecutor, I've been watching the way he proceeds, and I believe he will want him locked up in prison. And by the way, I don't think that Rob Reiner and Michele would want him locked up in prison. They would want him institutionalized.
Yeah,
but this is where a prosecutor has to step in and say, yeah, not in the jurisdiction that I'm in charge of prosecuting crimes, because I feel like this was a crime and it doesn't meet the legal standard of legal insanity. All right, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, wait, that's the wrong one. I want to get into different mode. All right, I can stay in that mode. That mode's fine. Thank you so much for watching. Al, where can folks find you?
All right. Well, so tonight I'm going to be on Vinnie Politan Investigates, VPI, at 9 o'clock. And then we are now off for Court TV until January 5th, so there'll be no Monday 8 to 9 on closing arguments, but you'll see me tonight. And then, of course, you're going to see me on Sunday. And then, of course, we're going to keep the podcast going. So that's where I'll be. And hasta la vista, los Tangenistas.
Jonesy, where can folks find the radio legend?
Well, you can come see me. I'll be appearing at City Winery on December 29th in New York City. I've got tickets to see Wayne Newton.
Wayne Newton.
Yes.
That's amazing. You can watch me tonight, 8 o'clock, closing arguments with Vinnie. Oh, actually, we have a special tonight on this case. We're going to have a special on this case. Incredible guest. Cody Thomas is out in L.A., so we'll have all the latest in the Reiner investigation, trial, etc. 9 o'clock, Al will be with me. We'll be talking about the first big trial of 2026 out of New Jersey, the Canero brothers. And other than that, I will see you Sunday night, 7 o'clock for the Christmas extravaganza, special guests, prizes, trivia, crowning of the Tangenista of the year. It's off the charts. And don't forget, be there at 7 because you don't want to miss the big opening number. Al's been working hard to get ready.
I'm telling you, I got my ballet slippers on right now.
All right. All right. Say goodnight, Jonesy.
Good night, Jonesy.
See all of you in court. Somebody say tangent, tangent. Somebody say podcast, podcast. Tangent, tangent. Podcast, podcast. This is the Tangent Podcast. Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for all your support. We are the Tangent True Crime Podcast. We'll see you all.